Thank you, everybody. Thank you, please. You're making me blush. I love you back. To Joe Salmonese, who's doing an outstanding job on behalf of HRC. To my great friend and supporter, Terry Bean, co-founder of HRC. Representative Patrick Kennedy. David Heebner, the ambassador-designee to New Zealand and Samoa. John Berry, our director of OPM, who's doing a great job. Nancy Sutley, chairman of Council on Environmental Quality. Fred Hochberg, chairman of Export-Import Bank. And my dear friend, Tipper Gore, who's in the house. Thank you so much, all of you. It is a privilege to be here tonight to open for Lady Gaga. I've made it. I want to thank the Human Rights Campaign for inviting me to speak, and for the work you do every day in pursuit of equality on behalf of the millions of people in this country who work hard in their jobs and care deeply about their families, and who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. For nearly 30 years, you've advocated on behalf of those without a voice. And that's not easy. For despite the real gains that we've made, there's still laws to change, and there's still hearts to open. There are still fellow citizens, perhaps neighbors, even loved ones, good and decent people who hold fast to outworn arguments and old attitudes, who fail to see your families like their families, who would deny you the rights most Americans take for granted. And that's painful, and it's heartbreaking. And yet, you continue leading by the force of the arguments you make and by the power of the example that you set in your own lives, as parents and friends, as PTA members and church members, as advocates and leaders in your communities, and you're making a difference. That's the story of the movement for fairness and equality. And not just for those who are gay, but for all those in our history who've been denied the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. For all who've been told that the full blessings and opportunities of this country were closed to them. It's the story of progress sought by those with little influence or power, by men and women who brought about change through quiet, personal acts of compassion and defiance wherever and whenever they could. It's the story of the Stonewall protests, when a group of citizens with few options and fewer supporters stood up against discrimination and helped to inspire a movement. It's the story of an epidemic that decimated a community, and the gay men and women who came to support one another and save one another, who continue to fight this scourge, who have demonstrated before the world that different kinds of families can show the same compassion in a time of need. And it's the story of the Human Rights Campaign and the fights you fought for nearly 30 years, helping to elect candidates who share your values, standing against those who would enshrine discrimination into our Constitution, advocating on behalf of those living with HIV/AIDS, and fighting for progress in our capital and across America. Now, this story, this fight, continues now, and I'm here with a simple message. I'm here with you in that fight. For even as we face extraordinary challenges as a nation, we cannot and we will not put aside issues of basic equality. I greatly appreciate the support I've received from many in this room. I also appreciate that many of you don't believe progress has come fast enough. I want to be honest about that, because it's important to be honest among friends. Now, I've said this before, I'll repeat it again. It's not for me to tell you to be patient, any more than it was for others to counsel patience to African Americans petitioning for equal rights half a century ago. But I will say this, we have made progress, and we will make more. And I think it's important to remember that there is not a single issue that my administration deals with on a daily basis that does not touch on the lives of the LGBT community. We all have a stake in reviving this economy. We all have a stake in putting people back to work. We all have a stake in improving our schools and achieving quality, affordable health care. We all have a stake in meeting the difficult challenges we face in Iraq and Afghanistan. For while some may wish to define you solely by your sexual orientation or gender identity alone, you know and I know that none of us wants to be defined by just one part of what makes us whole. You're also parents worried about your children's futures. Your spouses who fear that you or the person you love will lose a job. Your workers worried about the rising cost of health insurance. Your soldiers, you are neighbors, you are friends, and most importantly, you are Americans who care deeply about this country and its future.